Alrighty, hello and welcome. Quick heads up. I just watched the video by Wonder Sparking and they decided to try and figure out how far can you reasonably get with just an umbrella. Which kind of made me thinking. Hitting Moonlord with a melee weapon like the umbrella is really difficult because, you know, it's super short range and Moonlord does not like to appear in the place where... well, you would like Moonlord to appear for the purpose of actually hitting it. So, I kind of got me thinking, what if you could just set up some teleporters in a way where you're just gonna go back and forth really quickly, or reasonably quickly, let's put it this way, in order to just kind of keep the Moonlord in a specific place. Moonlord only teleports from what I can tell if you are further than 150 blocks away, so I have made a little bit of a setup here. Quick note, this is in the top left of the map, purely because that way you don't get nauseated when you get teleported back and forth really quickly. Or at least, I hope so. Either way, that's kind of the main idea. For my setup here, I decided to go with shark tooth necklaces because I might be more damage in conjunction with Flask of Ichor, because you can actually deal more than one damage at a time to the heart at least. I didn't really test the other stuff. This is more of a proof of concept anyways. I don't know whether this is practical at all for surviving. I just thought the theory or the idea behind it was kind of interesting. So we have quarter-second timers over here. The setup is kind of simple. We activate the timers. If we do, we get teleported back and forth really quickly. Moonlord is really confused about this, especially the eye. It's kind of amazing to see, just kind of whoop. And we actually can already hit one of the hands over here whenever he stretches out his arm, which is not that great. So, quick note, what we can do is we can just use the Rod of Discord in order to get onto the teleporter in a more appropriate place. Or get off of it in order to reset, if you will. Now, you could just use a separate teleporter to teleport onto the set of teleporters in order to initiate this properly, but this is... thanks Windows. This is more of a proof of concept update. So, what we do now is we can just hit the hands. You know what the best part is about this, which I didn't even think about, but the tongue here, the tongue never reaches here. Now the big question is, how long will this take? I don't know, a while. But considering that he never heals, you would eventually get him, assuming you survive the attacks. Which, well, adds its own separate issue, I suppose. Using the nurse here would be rather difficult, efficiently, because you're teleporting back and forth decently quickly. But I think you can kind of see the basic concept. You just get onto the teleporters at the appropriate time, and you can hit the hands. So the hands are not that big of a problem, let's put it this way. What about the main eye at the top? Well, you kind of do a similar concept. You just... oops, excuse me. Let me disable this one real quick. You just activate the teleporters up there. So I have actually two separate quarter-second timers hooked up to this. You'll see for what in just a moment. So, if I just go back and forth here, we're not actually, curiously enough, with about this distance, just wiggles up and down, slightly further up and slightly further down. Which, if you try to do consistent damage, it is not that terribly useful. So instead, I'm actually using a second quarter-second timer, which a quarter-second timer means, since there's 60 ticks per second in Terraria, this only takes like... it only activates once every 15 ticks. So if you have another quarter-second timer and just arbitrarily activate it, chances are you're gonna just activate the teleporters a lot quicker too, keeping Moonlord slightly more steady. And now we kind of try to do the similar thing, where we just have Moonlord be in approximately the correct position, get onto the teleporters and hope that he doesn't wiggle up too high up and down. I'm actually not entirely sure how to do this. I had a little bit more success when the teleporters were slightly further apart, but it also feels like that the second phase is like slightly different too. Alright, let me actually rearrange this real quick. Doesn't take too long. think I had it approximately here. This is mostly just kind of as a proof of concept rather than anything else. This is not a test on how long it actually would take. It's more of a concept that, hey, I can hit the eye now. I will get lasered like twice at least for one beam or something like that, but hey, we can hit it with an umbrella. Would take forever. Alright, let's skip phase 1. And the only way that I know how. And get to phase 2. Now for phase 2, as you would imagine, it's basically the exact same concept. Try to get Moon Lord in approximately the correct position. And now he likes to just float up higher than usual, which means hitting him here kinda difficult. Which is, I think, why I had the teleporters down here. That probably would make sense. Try to get him slightly further up. It's a bit gimmicky. I'm sure there's like some consistent setup that I just don't really figure out. But it's currently 4:11 AM. I just watched a video by Wonder Sparking, which, by the way, in case somebody watches this video here instead of watching theirs, I recommend you check them out. It's an amazing channel, lots of theory, and I was just kind of really curious about checking this one out. So as you can see, we are now at the Moon Lord's core, and we can deal damage. As mentioned before, the main downside is that, well, I don't know how viable this would be for actually surviving the thing. Also, we deal more than 1 damage per attack with this kind of setup of equipment. Don't know whether that's optimal. I didn't really test too much. But yeah, just wanted to briefly mention this. Shoutouts to Wonder Sparking for their amazing channel. And that's it. Have a good evening.